You get everything ready yet?
You can start anytime you want.
Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. It's a working session between the Records Management Committee meeting and the Board of Selectmen to talk about the requirements of RSA 33A in relation to 91A, records retention stuff. There are a few things that I'd like to take care of first. Chris, you have some concerns that you'd like to bring to the board?
Yes. A couple things. One thing is, the first thing I guess is our asphalt maintenance for the year. I want to get your opinion on a couple of things, just so you can decide what you want to do. The first, so we have $150,000 in asphalt maintenance that we need to spend, or want to spend. And the first thing I'd like to do is chip seal Stoneham Road. So that would be from town line to town line. And I have a contract for that. It's almost $66,000, $65,929.50. The price is a little higher because we didn't meet a 20,000 square yard, not minimum, but that's like a price point. So this is, the price would be for this year. This was what it would be if we were to go over the 20,000 square yards. So it's about $4,000 more. That's highlighted there from if we were over the 20,000 square yards, we're under the 20,000 square yards, so this would what it would be for this year. So if you want to.
So, if we do more, we save money.
Yeah, we can get to the $3.25 a square yard as opposed to $3.50.
So what we see here is if we get to 20,000 square yards, it goes to 61,000. If we're under the 20,000, it goes to 65,000. So where else can we?
Well, that's just it. The other area that we have ready to go is Garney Road, but that is a much larger project that's on its own 31,000 square yards. So we don't have quite enough to get to that 20,000 square yard price point, I guess is the point. But
Pike?
this is all states.
I'm sorry, Pike Road?
Oh.
Pike Road?
That needs to be overlaid before it can be sealed. It's actually in pretty rough shape.
Any sections of Clark Road?
You could do, Clark Road is on here, it's approximately 12,000 square yards, but that also needs one last section to be overlaid. So, in other words, to get another 1,000 square yards to get over that price point, I don't think we have a good place to do it right at the moment. So the option would be to just hold off and we can crack seal the road, or we can pay a little extra and get it done this year. So it doesn't have to be decided on tonight, but I can leave these with you and you can look at it and kind of think about it a little.
Do you have a preference one way or the other?
Why are we spending an extra $4,000?
Because we don't have anything ready to go.
So why are we forcing it? Right?
Your
Right.
thoughts?
If it's not ready, and, I mean, do we want to save the money, or do we want to just go for it? My vote is to save the money and
Yeah, I think
make
that
sure more roads are
pretty much
prepared.
makes it unanimous.
Okay.
So if we can find something else by the end of summer.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're saying, I'm not saying save the money. I'm saying don't do this job.
No, yeah, exactly.
That's,
Put the money towards something
yes.
else.
Oh, don't do the job at all? Or the extra?
Don't do the chip seal on stone, period.
That's what we're spending $5,000 more to do it this year. So let's not spend it this year and spend it on other paving projects.
Okay.
That's my take.
Let me just follow that up a little bit. Is there any reason to think that we would have the extra 1,000 square feet next year?
Yeah, yeah, we can definitely, we can definitely find the extra square yards next year.
By this time next year, okay. Then,
There's still a possibility you could find it this year also, it's just a matter of timing with the other paving, so.
What doesn't compute, right?
Yeah, no,
You can tell them to throw it away. Tell them to throw it 1,000 yards away and drop the price $5,000. What, you know, what doesn't, go ahead, you're working it.
So we encumbered the money last year for chip
Right.
sealing. Right?
No,
Oh, it wasn't, it was-
actually I have that, my
Okay,
next,
you have that.
yeah,
Okay,
so,
sorry.
yeah, no problem. We encumbered the $53,530 last year to do some paving.
Paving.
It occurred to me, kind of after the fact, that that little section of Sanborn Road also needs to be paved. And if they're right there at Holly Lane and Roberts Road, there's no reason not to do that.
And that's not the dirt part, but repave, do the
Yeah,
refreshing the blacktop.
from 109 to Florence
Yes.
would get done, in Florence too, for that matter.
Yep.
Not all the way down to the river, but at least past the driveway that's there. So that brings that number, that's an extra almost $15,000 just on that piece. So just hold on to that for a second, okay? What it actually does is it brings our, with that chip sealing, it brought our number up to $216,000. So the 53 that we encumbered, the 150 that we have allocated for the paving, and then this extra $15,000. So we would have to, the money would have to come out of the budget that I use, or you'd have to find $15,000 somewhere, assuming that we were going to do the chip sealing. So then the third thing with this paving here is there's a section of Moose Mountain Road from Austin's house to the bridge that needs to be reclaimed. It needs a culvert replaced and the road needs to be ripped up and rebuilt. They originally said they give us a price of $76,000 to reclaim it, add gravel, and pave it with 2 inches of asphalt. I don't think 2 inches is enough, especially on that road. It's got a lot of truck traffic with the sand pit there. So if you went to 3 inches, that 76,000 turns into 95,000. And my question is, would there be any reason not to pave it at 3 inches rather than the 2 inches? Can anyone see a reason why you wouldn't want to spend the extra money and get the extra asphalt?
It's gonna hold up better over the long term, correct?
It should be better over the long term. It still needs to be overlaid within a couple of years. This would just be a base product, but the goal would be to overlay the entire length of the road all at once after this section was reclaimed. And
That's the last section, did you reclaim that?
no, no. Yeah, from Governor's Road to Austin's house is horrendous, but there's no point in reclaiming that without doing, you'd have to box cut the road. In other words, cut out a couple of feet, 3 feet maybe of the subsurface to get rid of the boulders and the water problems, because right now there's so much water in the road, and the frost really rips it up. So, and you're talking several years worth of budget to do that. So that one's a tough one because that's the worst part of the road.
So you're looking at 73 going to 95 if we go 3 inches. And we would do that instead of Stoneham or Sanborn?
Well, it would be, that's the question. The way I had it set up was to do all of it. But if that kind of blows the budget, I'm going to the 3 inches on that section.
Let me see if I can't summarize. We put 150,000 in the budget last year. We have 50,000 carried over, so we have 200,000 to work with. If we don't do the seal coating, which is, we said we could postpone, we spend 90 and what was the,
95.5, and the other one is right here, 68.
so that's 150. That's the budget, that's 150, right?
Yeah. Yep. That would be, and we would forego the chip seal, and we would just have to do crack sealing on those sections that crack.
By that, you mean you're talking about melted rubber
Yep.
and cracks and...
Which we have some of the material here, and, that's not going to affect that asphalt maintenance budget. That's something that we can handle doing ourselves, so.
Okay, and it would be, so it would be part of what we already have budgeted for normal maintenance work?
Yep.
We're working with 200, right? 150,
Yep.
150 and 50. And you just said one.
It's 95.5, yeah.
So we have 40,000 left, which is okay. We don't have to spend all the money,
Nope.
but we use,
We can do 2 out of the 3 jobs for 150.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're not going to spend all the paving budget. We'll use the money we saved, we encumbered,
Yeah.
and not all the money that we put into the budget. It's
We-
there.
We could encumber that money, though, for the chip seal for the following year.
Yes, right.
Yes,
We
we
can,
could.
yeah.
We would just have to have that contract under it,
Yep.
in place before the end of the year.
Yep.
Okay, I think that's the right thing to do. I'll make a motion that we're gonna recover 2 out of the 3 jobs, and skip the chip seal for this year.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it's Moose, it's part of Sanborn Road,
Yep.
and that goes across the street into Holly.
Holly, Roberts,
Roberts also.
Yep.
Okay, those 2 developments, we got it.
they're all in horrendous shape, so there's,
Yes. Okay.
all right, so that takes care of the paving. I have a question about engineering. I am going to put out an RFQ for engineering services for the bridge, okay? The question I have is the town interested in, along with the engineering work for the bridge, are you interested in adding any of the other things in with that? So a lot of towns put out an RFQ and they include engineering services for, say, the planning board. If somebody brings in a site plan, or if somebody's planning on doing a development or something like that, it would give them an idea of what it's going to cost to have an engineer come in, or gives them a contact for someone to come into a planning board meeting to review with them, things like that, or any other engineering services other than what we need for the bridge.
Is this going through the Stratford Regional Planning?
No, this is something that we're looking at on our own.
This is which bridge?
Moose Mountain Road.
Moose Mountain.
We only have one bridge in town.
True, but we talk about another possibility.
Don't we have 1 o'clock?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
There's one on
There's-
Governors.
The one on Clark Road is a culvert.
Oh,
Oh.
it's a culvert.
So what is happening with that road survey?
The RSMS, it's in the process, should be done sometime this summer.
Would any of those things that we've talked about tonight be reflected in that, or is that
Yes.
not the level of detail where it goes?
No, those, the paving and things that have been done and what should be done will all be reflected in the RSMS report.
Okay. All right, so this, back to this engineering services then. Essentially, Lucky Pierre is gonna come up with a conceptual design.
No, all we're looking for is to contact 3 or 4 engineering firms and get basically a list of their qualifications, work that they've done, their rates that they charge, so that you can make a decision on which firm you'd like to go with
Okay.
for the purposes of engineering and permitting for the bridge.
Now, is there any fee just for gathering that information?
Not that I know
They
of.
want the business. They'll do
Yeah.
that.
It's a pretty standard thing. Most municipalities have an on-call engineer. Usually they give them a contract of like 3 years or something like that, so that whenever they have an engineering question, they have a contact and they know what it's gonna cost them. It's not much different than a lawyer, just engineering. I'm not saying you need it for everything, but I plan to do it for the bridge work, and if you wanted any other engineering services, we can include that in the request.
And we shouldn't do tumble down, because that's coming out of the regional plan.
As far as I know, it still is, or a bulk of it is. There may still be something that has to be done, but, there's nothing specific about the RFQ, it's strictly to get somebody to agree that they want to do the work. And we go from there.
All right, and there's no cost to the town at this point.
I don't believe so.
All right. I think it's a good idea, I'm in favor of doing that.
Same.
All right. I'll make it a motion then, we authorize you to go out and do an RFQ for engineering services to the town.
Okay?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So, that said, do you want to add anything into the engineering services?
At this point, my personal thought is no, because I don't know what it is that I don't know. You know, what is it that they can offer us that I just don't know what else might be out there.
Yeah.
And I think as we get into this, we'll probably figure out more.
Okay. That's it for the road stuff. Do you want to sign any?
Do you want us to sign any contracts for that paving to get in the list?
Not yet,
Okay.
because I'm going to get some new ones that have just explicitly what we're going to do.
Okay.
These all have multiple things on them that
Okay.
we need to sort out. If you want to do intent to cuts, gravel reports, report to excavate, any of those things.
No, let's do it at the regular meeting. I think we're kind of pushing the limits of what our intent here was. So.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate you bringing that in.
See you later.
Yep.
Mary Lou.
Yep. Come forth, Mary Lou.
Oh, thank you. That chest is really low, so just so you know that. 'Cause I'm surprised that you me, Steve. Can I get your address and cell phone? Oh, I forgot to put it at the meeting. Do you have his email? Yes. Okay. I'm 1/3 of the way there. So I received a call. Oh, I'm in mode. I received a phone call that there will be a town-wide garage sale on May 31st. And some of the residents would like to use 8 of our tables from the townhouse. So the Heritage Commission is hosting an event that day, but I don't believe at this point we're going to be using the townhouse after all. So I don't see that we would be needing tables, and if we did, we'd only need 1 or 2. But I'm concerned about loaning out those tables to people in town. It's probably fine, but they're 8-foot-long tables, so you've got to get the truck and you've got to balance them, and 8 of them are going to go somewhere. And I guess for me, I would rather see the town have a policy where we didn't rent out tables. However, being a former person more involved than I currently am, I went out to the web and found a contract that the town of Ringe has for renting out tables and chairs from the town. And so my suggestion would be if we say you can rent the tables, that we do some kind of a contract with people that would like to do that, so that we make sure they can take them. We get a little bit of money for it, but we also try and keep track of them better. So it covers both tables and chair rentals, I will leave you with it, and I made a copy for each of you. So it's a 2-page contract, but at least gives you something to work with. And that's important. And then who's taking minutes for this? So let me know what you want to do about May. If
Let
you,
me see if I can summarize.
okay, go.
I think I heard you say that the Heritage Commission is to be having an event,
Yes,
but you're not going to use the table for 1 or 2.
maybe 1 or 2.
Is that firm?
Yes, I would say it is.
Okay, fine. So I think we're okay this
For
time.
May 31st, because what we're planning on doing is memorial service up at the new cemetery.
Okay.
So you'd be fine for this time, but could you think about doing something?
I would suggest we put this on the agenda and talk about it at our regular meeting.
Yep.
Yep.
Good
Okay.
idea. And I appreciate you bringing this to us.
Certainly.
Thank you, Mary Lou.
You're welcome. I'm home. Thank you, gentlemen. See if I can get up. That's a
I
try.
understand, can I? I can pay a foot, but I can push.
Thank you for your time.
It's all warmed up for you, Craig. Come sit down
It's
with
a
us.
low seat though, you want it.
It's too low.
Do you want me to
I'll
get
stay
See?
here. No, this is fine. I can participate for a minute.
I can switch.
Right, I don't see any other business for the selectmen specifically, so I don't know.
Are you adjourning your selectmen's meeting?
Well, we can't adjourn it because we're still in a meeting format. But you can officially call your meeting to order and go for it.
So, we go ahead and switch over to the municipal records committee. We
6:17.
appreciate the selectmen taking the time to meet with us. And we'll just, I think, in the interest of time, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we dispense with the approval of the minutes, and the municipal records committee will take care of that at our next meeting. Anybody would like to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Rose. Everybody in favor?
Yes.
From the
Aye.
municipal records committee, thank you. I don't see anyone here for public comments. Old business, we don't have any with this group, so we'll just kind of move into our intention with this meeting. I believe at this point in time, everyone's aware of what the municipal records committee is doing. We're following RSA 33A, which is the state's disposition of municipal records. I always say medical, I apologize, of municipal records. And it does, in the RSA, it outlines who is on our committee, and I think everyone's aware that each department is represented on this committee. Each of the officers are represented on the committee. And basically what we want to do is look at the different departments, look at our records here in town, and we want to follow the guidance of RSA 33A as far as retaining them, maintaining them, securing them, and then if they're to be disposing of them according to their schedule and also in the proper manner. So basically we've been trying to start going department to department, kind of looking at what records you have that are already in the RSA, determining whether we're retaining them as stipulated in the RSA, whether we as a town think there's a different schedule that we'd like to keep for those records. And then if there are records not in the RSA that are kept in that department, we want to work with the department to determine what the best mechanism is of maintaining them and also of disposing them. So that's kind of where we are today. It's sort of just touching base. And rather than jumping into the RSA itself, there were a few things that have come to light to the committee that we thought that we would just start addressing those before we jump to the other ones. So you'll see on your agenda, one of the ones that came up actually at a selectmen's meeting was the non-public meeting minutes. That also came to light during a right to know request. So we just noticed that the originals of the non-public meeting minutes that have been released were maintained right here at the public, right on the bookshelf. So we had no original stored in the archives. So we wanted to work with you all to come up with a mechanism that when they're reviewed after being held for a period of time, that they will be, a copy can be maintained in the notebooks here, but our suggestion is that those originals, once they're released, they're public, but they can go into the archives. And a copy can be maintained here for the public.
See, my take on that is, that's clear, that's what the RSA is saying. So if we're gonna follow the RSA's, we're gonna put all our meeting minutes in the vault,
Correct.
all.
Right. Well, they're not there yet.
That's
What we need to do. We need to establish what our procedure is going to be.
Yes.
And I think part of it too is just that there is the new RSA about reviewing the minutes at certain intervals, and then when they're released to the public, at that point in time, those originals should go to the archives, or the originals should be in the archives when they're still non-public, and copies kept for the public. So that would be up to this group to decide how we want to do that. But at this point in time, the originals actually are back in Leah's office, so no one could take those originals.
Let me ask about putting non-public into the archive before they're released to the public. I mean, it's a secure vault, nobody goes in there without authorization, so they're protected. There's no need to be concerned about them being there. I would suggest that we put them in as soon as they're approved by the Board of Selectmen, as non-public meetings, put them in. And then when they get unsealed, simply a note or a stamp with a date saying when they were unsealed, and they would stay in the archive. And then you're not going to risk have a risk of them being misplaced somehow, right?
They shouldn't be filed in the Selectmen's minutes, the various document boxes that cover all the years, until they've been released.
Right.
And I agree with you, there should be some kind of an indication, either a cover sheet added to it or a stamp that indicates when the selectmen voted to release them, and maybe even signatures by the selectmen to make it official.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, while they're sitting in the vault, they would be retained in a separate document box, probably by year, so that when it comes time for you to review them, we can just pull a year or multiple years, and it would be in a box that says restricted on it.
Yeah, I think
That's what we've done in other towns. That's what I've done in other towns.
that makes sense to me.
I agree.
Any other thoughts on it? I don't like it when you smile
I
like
know.
that.
You can always tell when he does other thoughts.
My thoughts are, it's a specific. What's the overall process for all the documents that we have in the file cabinet? How do we get them to the vault?
Well,
How
that's
do-
what we're working on tonight.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, it's clear that the selectmen own a bunch of documents.
Right.
We don't have to discuss that tonight, that's clear. You own RSA, say you own it. So we have to go and get these documents into various categories. We're gonna have some that we're gonna want to get to the vault. We're gonna have some that we're gonna want to dispose of. How do we do that?
I think that's what we're determining here.
But how, don't we do it the same way for other departments?
I'm not sure what you mean by the same way.
If a department has some documents they want to put into the archive, how do they do that?
Well, I think, first of all, we have to look at where they are to be stored. If they're permanent, they go to archives. Not all records are permanent. so they don't go to archives. So they may be stored in property files, they may be stored in planning book. So there are various places that they're stored. Not everything's permanent. Some have a retention schedule where they'll never be permanent, but they get destroyed after a year and a day.
I didn't do well, I didn't do well.
Maybe I didn't.
If you go down the
understand.
assessing spreadsheet,
Mhm.
there was a bunch of documents that have to be addressed.
Mhm.
I don't think they were addressed. I think they're on the spreadsheet as some action has to take place,
Right.
but I don't think it took place, because I don't think the assessing department knows, who do they give the maps to? That have to be retained forever. How do we do that?
Well, I think that's when we meet with assessing.
We did.
I wasn't there.
Okay. Fair enough.
So perhaps we
Can
need
you
to
give
meet with
us a
assessing
solid
again.
example of what you're talking about?
The maps, every time we get a new set of maps, we're supposed to save those. I didn't know this. We're
Right.
supposed to save them forever.
Right.
How does the assessing?
The assessor clerk and the assessor sat there, we discussed it,
Mhm.
and we talked about, would it be fine to save them digitally only, or the 11 by 17 plus the digital?
Okay.
And then it's in the hand, the archives is not responsible for chasing down this stuff.
I'm not saying
You've
that.
got an assessor clerk, an assessor, we covered all that.
And I'm not saying I agree with that. Is there a place that they can put these documents that they want preserved? What's the mechanism for?
They go to the archivist, send an email, put it in our box the way people have been doing it for years, when they do it.
And I don't believe it's been done for a long time, right? So if the
In
process
that
is,
office, very little's been done.
so if the process is, we put it in the box, that's the way we'll do it. And then we do that for all ours.
It's very
It's
simple.
not the same for all. I mean, not everything goes to, if it's permanent and the original goes to archives, then that would be the way to do it. Put it in your box,
If
correct?
it's not permanent?
There's many different retention schedules.
But-
And
Well, I
many
understand,
different
I
places
understand.
that they're stored.
But the process needs to be the same. That's, I think, the point that he's trying to get to. So in other words, I'm the Heritage Commission, I have my 33A list of the documents I have to keep. Some of them are archived, some are 1 year, some are 5 years, some are 10 years,
Right.
okay? So as
As they
Chair,
mature,
as
you
chair.
need to take action.
Right, as chair of the Heritage Commission, anything that has an archive on it, I'm gonna put in the archivist's mailbox. Anything that says 2 years, I'm gonna put in a storage box or maybe just in a notebook. And then at the end of the year, I'll go through and throw it away. Right? And we talked about how to track that in some of our other meetings. And we were coming up with a spreadsheet type form that identifies the document. There'll be a date of when it was created, a date that it has to be destroyed, and then it would be initials of when it was destroyed and how it was destroyed.
And I agree with that. That is fine. That is fine.
And
I agree with that. That's very clear.
And I apologize, I didn't understand what you were asking, to tell
I
you
mean,
the
no,
truth,
that's-
so I
that's
do
clear,
understand.
right?
So, and that would apply no matter what department we're talking to.
So we, the selectmen, should go through this list, well, the RSA list you gave us, which was complete,
Yeah.
pull our documents, figure out what we want to do with them, put a spreadsheet together, and put those columns in place, whether we retain them, dispose of them.
Right.
Or-
And I think what Karen's done, if I say it wrong, let me know. But I think what Karen has done is she's taken 33A and isolated just the selectmen's
Yeah, that's excellent.
sections.
Well, and I have to correct that, I relied a lot on Craig's previous work and I just we've adjusted it through our committee meetings to make this helpful and make it a worksheet for each department. But I think there are a couple of issues. One issue is, yes, you need to do it according to the RSA, but my understanding is there may be a lot of documents that are not necessarily included on the RSA, and that's where the Municipal Records Committee wants to work with you so that we can add them to our own list of documents and determine what that retention schedule is appropriate for your department. So for instance, the MS some of these MS forms are not necessarily specific in this RSA. So we know there are notebooks, there may be years of them, or we keep them digitally. We need to determine how are we going, what is our best mechanism to save those forms? So there are steps to getting to that point of disposing of them. First, we kind of need to see what we have and what we have according to the RSA and those rules, and then also look at what we have that may not be in the RSA, and then we can start disposing of the records.
So is the process you want us to go away and come back with that list?
No.
Well, as we go through the file cabinet, we're gonna find a lot of stuff that may not be in an RSA.
Right.
So we're gonna sit around and say, we want to save this. So you want us to go away and create a list of all the things that we think we should save and add to your RSA list?
You
We
got-
would like to be a part of your
Yes,
discussion.
I think you got the process backwards. Right? What we want to do is go through the list, the file cabinet, and compare it to the RSA. And then as we're doing it, we're going to say, we should keep this one too. So then we take this RSA spreadsheet and we add a line item on the bottom.
Let's do it, let's try it.
So what is the objective? The objective is to comply with the RSA.
Yes,
That's the objective.
and that's clear.
Right. So we'll make that the priority and the purpose for what we're going to do, and then we can add to it.
So how do we do that? We go in there now?
Well, what we did last summer, it was our first shot at it, when we went through the ZBA file cabinets in there. And I think what you need to do is take two people, open up every drawer in that file cabinet, one at a time, and just see what's in it. First thing you want to do is throw away anything that's a duplicate, which will probably take care of half the file cabinet. But anything that's a duplicate, you don't need, you already got. And just make sure you don't throw an original away if it is. But anything that's a duplicate, you can get rid of. Then you can take the things that you're finding and comparing it to this RSA sheet and say, yep, we got it, we got it, we got it. Or if the RSA says you only need to hang on to it for 5 years and it's 6 years old, goes away, throw it away, you don't need it. So you're gonna do all of it all at once. It's gonna take time, it's a process.
Okay.
But so like Karen was trying to say, I think, a good example on the spreadsheet she made is the grievances, which is like the 5th or 6th thing down. It specifically says you have to keep it until the expiration of the appeal period, but how long is our appeal period for? Like, it seems like there's a lot of things we would need to come up with at least baseline policies for to know how long we need to keep things and whatnot.
I think that, and you'll see that question in the comments. There are things, as we even looked at them, that we had questions about that would need to be addressed basically with our committee or with a representative from our committee in order to be able to make determinations of what you keep and what you don't. Based on the RSA and based on the value, if they're not in the RSA, what is the value of what you're keeping and what is the time frame? And we do have a survey worksheet, we can work with you on it. For anything that's not in the RSA, it's just kind of recording certain questions about it so that we can help you determine how long do you need to keep these things.
I can think of an example just recently. Right? We had the townhouse assessed for all kinds of structural issues. And we got a little folder. There is nothing in the RSA that says you have to hang on to that at all. Never mind 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, any year. So throw it away. I think that would be a big mistake. That, to me, is a very, very valuable historic document. Right? And you might not do anything for 2, 3, 4, 5 years in it, but you have it there and you can use it. So it essentially is a time capsule of what the condition of that building is. So there's historical preference,
Okay.
not legal.
So what's our next step? Do we go in there and start doing this?
I would offer that you have a couple representatives from our committee meet with you to do it, and we could set up a schedule, like once a week, we could meet at a certain time and look at things together. You all are welcome to do it, but we were trying to assign people to kind of work with the departments, just so that we can work together and collaborate on what is helpful. So if you want to set up times, we could do that. My only suggestion, I don't know about everybody else, is that we keep it moving. So like, if we meet today, later this week, next week, schedule some time to be in there and start to do that. Some things, there's so many things to this. What is stored hard copy, what's stored digitally? Are there digital records? One concern is, are there digital records? Are they on the server, or are they saved on the hard drive? Are there any records on the hard drive? Are there copies that are signed, or are they copies not signed of drafts that are saved digitally? Do we have a signed hard copy in the permanent files if they're supposed to be there? So that's the only concern with maybe if there's 10 copies of something, or if there's a copy of something that's supposed to be permanent, or if there's a permanent, do we need to check with archives to make sure that it is in its proper place, even if we have it in the selectman's office? Just making sure, reassuring ourselves that we do have the permanent copy in
And I think
archives.
Craig Walsh, when we did that exercise last summer, there were several of those where we were going through, got rid of all of the duplicates, and then we saw some that, should this be kept or not? Right? We were not clear on it. So we asked the archivist, and we got an answer. We either kept it, or we got rid of it. So, and you're gonna find that. When you go through those drawers, and I found that, you're gonna find that and then some, times 10. So, to answer your question, I think, the sooner we start to move on this, the better. We've got to get everything in order, and it's got to become rote. Right? It's got to become habit, so we don't sit here, or somebody else sitting here 10 years from now having the exact same conversation.
That's why it needs to be written down.
Yeah.
It might be cumbersome, but I've always used the phrase, you don't want the tail wagging the dog. The next administrative assistant who comes in and decides what he or she is going to keep can screw up the whole system. And the problem is, other than the RSA, which really lacks in terms of the amount of material that all the departments produce, other than maybe the tax collector.
It's only about half of it.
Hmm?
It only covers about half of what I have.
Yeah. Once it's written down, you've got a clear thing, and then when a new employee comes in, they get oriented to, this is the way it's done here. If you want us to take care of destroying the records, there'll be a process for that, transferring them to the MRC to be taken care of. In a small town, that's probably very unlikely. Most of the stuff. The initial purge will be big, but after that, it's a matter of walking over there to the shredder and getting rid of it, or just throwing it in the waste paper basket. But it's got to be written down. As much as you can.
And it should reference it's got to be done at least once a year. Once a year. If you're, like, for example, the notebooks, meeting notes have to be archived, right? We all know that. But how many sets of meetings do you keep in the notebook? A year? 2
And I think
years? 6 months?
And that's one of the agenda items, is that is a good question.
The point would be, though, when you come to writing it down, is that there would be instructions to say, when you put a new set of notes in on the top of the pile, you take the one from the bottom of the pile out, throw it away, because it's already been archived.
I think typically we would keep a year together, though.
So who does that?
Yeah, and
Who
whose
does that?
responsibility are those?
We've got two I didn't know the ZBA did theirs. So the ZBA's done, assessing's done. It's been a year. Who documents that process and goes through it?
The department. So if Leah puts, which she does, puts the minutes in the notebook, she would say, let's say, I recommend, we've talked about this, 2 years in there, plus the current year that you're producing. So at the end of 2025, 2023 would get tossed. For now, it's like 2.5 years. If you decide 2 years is sufficient in there. Another question that goes along with it is, are they digitally on the website so that people can access them back 5 years if they want?
So
It doesn't matter, but
So that's specific, the meeting minutes, but I was trying to do it broader. You got the ZBA, you got assessing. I know the assessing department did not write up the rules of procedure, there was a spreadsheet, right?
right.
I don't know what happened with the ZBA, whether there was a spreadsheet or whatever. But it, for the, all
The
the time.
ZBA has the rules of procedure.
So for everything on this spreadsheet, has that been reviewed and who writes that up, what the review process is?
If I can help at all, I may be speaking out of turn, but I don't know that the assessing was completed with that meeting. It was a step in the process to begin, but I don't think the next step has taken place as far as organizing how that's going to happen.
Okay, fine.
That's my understanding.
So-
So we need to go back with assessing maybe and meet again and just find out how we can develop that process so that we can move forward. A lot of this has been a growing process since we're all new to this, and thankfully Craig has been guiding us some, but each department I do not think will be completed just with one meeting. At this point in time, it's sort of a process working with each department to get them on track, and even developing our tool. We're developing, we have a modified tool, thanks to Rose, that we're going to be using and sort of piloting in our departments as we dispose of records, so that once we're comfortable with it, that's what we can share with the other departments.
I'm a stickler for the process.
I agree 100%.
But we're not documenting the process.
We're working toward that. I don't know that we're there yet. So we're taking baby steps with each department to firm up the process. Especially with our with the members of the committee, we're piloting things in order to be able to make sure our process works.
Okay.
So can I go back to the non-public minutes for a minute? So all the ones that are unsealed, should I photocopy them, keep the copies in the binder for public inspection, and give archives the originals?
Why don't we talk about that when we get together?
Okay.
Because that's an example of one. There's 100 of things like that, right?
Yes.
And we just document what we think should happen to them.
Okay.
And I don't know if this is right or wrong, I'm just tossing that out there. You may consider looking at the things that are on the RSA first, and determining where you are with those, and then moving forward with the things that some decisions need to be made about. I don't know if that.
So we're going to schedule a meeting. We're going to meet. We're going to do this.
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. And,
What is today, is Tuesday?
I would suggest next week I can do,
Are we talking about the whole select board doing this together?
Just two, at
that's
least
up to
two.
the select board,
At least two. So maybe it's an evening job.
and you're our committee rep.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You're learning with
You.
us.
So,
Well, that brings up a good point. If we just took one of us at a time, working with Leah and then somebody from the Records Management Committee to go through those, and it'd be a different individual. each time that we meet, so that we'd all get the experience on how to go about doing it. Then we don't have a forum, right? We're not into a meeting format. So it makes sense to me, to just have one of us at a time, on the selectmen side, one at a time, working with Leah and then a rep from the Records Management Committee, and just attack, start it, go through it.
I'd put two in and make a decision.
Sorry?
I'd put two selectmen together and make a decision, this is what we want to do with the document. Because one individual can't. So someday you're gonna have to get two of us to look at it.
Well, first of all, if it's on the RSA, then there's no decision to be made, you have to keep it for however long the RSA says. So that's not a decision point.
That's right.
It would be the things that maybe are not in the RSA. And that can be done simply by putting it in a separate folder that says, you are the two guys, take a look at this. And then when we have a regular meeting, we can discuss that in a meeting format. I don't want to get into posting 4 meetings a month because we're going through a file cabinet.
Do you want to, oh, excuse me, Ed?
Well, it's up to you. I would think since you already appointed somebody to the committee, then that person from the select board could put together the whole process and bring it to the main board report, and you could all vote on it at that time. I think that's what you're leading to. Instead of having separately posted meetings with separate minutes and everything else. Because you as a work group are not going to be able to make a decision anyway. It should be brought to the entire board,
Right.
all 3 people,
Right.
since you're in charge of the town.
Right.
That's
It would
my
be the
opinion.
recommendation of the one selectman rep, the one records management rep, and Leah. It'd be a recommendation of those 3 people to the other 2 board members.
Or even just creating a list of all the stuff that you need to make those decisions on, and then do it in a regular selection.
Right.
Or even a special selectmen's meeting.
Yep.
Make those decisions on how long and how to dispose and things like that. But the first step is to get a list to see how bad it is, how big the job is.
That's right.
And
Well,
then
and the list is already,
Things busting at the seams.
Yeah.
the list is already 75% done via the RSA.
And I
Yeah,
do-
that's a given.
Right.
You know, there we just have to figure out.
I think that you're gonna find that it's the other way around, that the RSA is done maybe 25%, and that you've got 75% of stuff in there that you have no guidance on. The state does, I mean, like the MS forms, there's 7 or 8 of them, produced by different people, and there's no guidance whatsoever. You can call the DRA, call your representative at the DRA, and I doubt if you'll get an answer.
We have to investigate, because now they're all online, and I don't know how far back they go, right?
Exactly.
I don't know how far, I know they're online,
Yeah.
but I don't know what's 5 years, 7 years, 10 years.
Right. But you may decide there's no reason to keep any of these forms for more than 2 years in paper. Just get rid of them. It's like when we met with the assessor, we asked him about all the different forms that have been kept for decades, literally, in here. And he says, oh, I never use those. I go online. They're all online. So I think you'll find if they're only on for the last 5 years, it won't matter at all. Because who's going to look at other than for historical purposes, at an MS1, the valuation from 17 years ago.
That's right. Go back a year or 2.
Yeah. But that just needs to be put down in writing, that all those MS forms out the window. Or you might even decide digitally that the forms that you have, they're on your computer, on the server probably.
Well,
Why
actually,
would you keep a paper
Really,
copy?
they're really in DRA. I don't think,
Does DRA agree that they are the source,
I don't know.
the final keeper of all that
That's
stuff?
a good question.
And if you can retrieve it,
Right.
what the time frame is.
Yeah.
I do want to clarify one thing, just to make sure we're all clear. The RSA itself, it is an RSA, it's a guideline. We have, at a minimum, we have to follow their guidance. But you may determine that for our purposes in this town, we want to exceed that. So you're not beholding to what it says, you're beholding to what it says as a minimum. So you can determine that maybe something we want to keep permanently.
Right.
So I just wanted to clarify that.
But it should be right in the same spreadsheet.
Oh, we will
Just-
update the
Yeah,
spreadsheet
so you get
accordingly.
the RSA requirements and then all the requirements.
Exactly.
And it'd be the same columns, the same data, same data points that we're filling in.
So, and another example that's not in the RSA for all things, which is one of our items on our agenda, is the maintenance of correspondence. Like, how do we maintain email correspondence? How do we maintain signed correspondence? Is it electronic? So those are the types of things that are on this list because they're things that are not necessarily mentioned in the RSA that we really need to take a close look at. And see what our methods are and determine what our retention period will be. And it may be dependent on what the type of correspondence is. So those are things to also consider. We talked about the MS forms, and I did just make that little spreadsheet for you. I don't know if it's helpful. I made this from our DRA submission, so I'm sure there are additional forms, but just kind of looking at who creates them, and I don't know, like, for the MS9, MS10, I think trustees do that.
Yeah.
So is there a copy in your office? Do the trustees keep the digital copy? Do all the copies of all the forms from each year, should they all be printed and put in your office? Those are the type of things that we need to consider and make determinations for. The MS123, the town clerk typically does it, and that's an ongoing virtual document. It gets updated as appointments are made. It gets a little cumbersome, but these are things we need to determine.
And the other thing that we need to be aware of is if we're saving things electronically, PDF isn't good enough. As a matter of fact, they recommend microfilm. But there is a secure PDF, PDF-A? Yeah, that we think is good enough, but not necessarily.
That's what the legislation says, is the PDF-A. Which is basically, all I've been able to figure out is that it's a PDF that you store archivally.
But how do you get the A? How do you get it to the A?
You need special software to make it
Yeah.
soft. Yeah.
I've never been, and there's no guidance from the legislature on it, or even the last time I did a workshop with the state archivist, there was no guidance. Maybe there is now, there's a new archivist, new state archivist.
It was still a question at the conference I went to 3 weeks ago. It's still a question.
Yep.
Okay, so should we go ahead and determine our work schedule for getting together for the selectmen?
Yep, I think we should.
And Austin is our new, this is your first meeting, I think,
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
Municipal Records Committee.
Sorry.
So, like I said, we're all learning together, but as our representative, my
think I am.
suggestion would be that.
I think I am.
You are what?
Your
Oh.
representative.
Did you change?
Yes.
Oh, I thought we,
Yeah, no, that's right, at the last meeting.
did we
At
change?
the last meeting, he said,
Did not know
remember we had said Austin's gonna do it, you would agree? And then Rich piped up and said that he wanted to be on the Records Management Committee, so I think you reluctantly allowed him.
Is
to-
that?
That's what happens.
You were there, you saw the play.
So it was
that.
Rich.
I didn't know that. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
I'd forgotten about that.
I forgot about it too. I thought it was Austin.
Communication.
So that means you're first up.
So we
At
can
the next
determine
meeting.
at your
I'll step up to the box, my friend.
Pick a time.
Okay, so next Tuesday is your regular Board of Selectmen meeting, and Wednesday is Conservation Commission.
And Tuesday, I believe there's a Zoom
Tell me
meeting.
what this process looks like.
Yeah, right to know training is on Tuesday also.
It's literally.
Can someone explain this to me? What are we gonna do? Do I just sit there and go through and make a pile?
No, first we are going to look at what you have according to the RSA. So we will look like,
Which
and
is on
and
your
answer
chart.
some of these questions, also like grievances. For the one, as Leah pointed out, grievances, expiration of appeal period. Do we have a procedure for grievances? What is the appeal period? And then what is the time frame for the selectmen and how is it maintained? What are we doing with grievances now? Maybe we don't have any, but we should have a procedure.
We do have a form that I found.
Yes, there's a form on the website, I believe. But what is our process, what is our procedure, and how would we know?
You don't have to have a grievance procedure though.
No, we
The
just
selectmen
need to know
could
it.
decide, we're not gonna do grievances in this town.
And then we should get rid of the form on the website.
So my suggestion is, there's an incredible amount of junk, for lack of a better term, in that file cabinet. I think the first step should be to go through one drawer at a time and simply get rid of duplicates. You're gonna clean out about half the drawer. Don't worry about what it says, don't read it, just say duplicate, duplicate, trash.
And yeah, I've been through it a number of times. I guess the way I'd attack it is I start with row one, pull out the first folder. What is it? Is it covered by an RSA?
It goes in one pile.
Yeah. If it's not,
Or I suggest you to get a spreadsheet going. Pull out that first folder, write that in the spreadsheet. Later on, you can look to see if it's in the RSA, but let's just get a list. That's the way I attacked it anyway. I got a list of everything in my drawers.
oh,
So you inventory.
Oh.
It's
I
an
inventory.
inventory, it's a survey
Oh.
inventory.
oh.
But you can start with one, like you said, start with the top drawer and eventually
All right.
be to the bottom one.
We'll attack it. So,
And I'm happy to scribe for you and do the spreadsheet. As you're going through the drawer, I can attack it with
let's,
the spreadsheet.
fine, let's try it. Try it, see how it goes.
And you don't have to make that determination that day to see what you have, see what's in there, and then you can talk as a group to determine whether you're
Exactly
looking
right,
at it.
it's just, yes, it
This
goes
is
in this pile
the
or that pile.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I think you're gonna have 3 piles. You're gonna have one pile that we know are keepers, because the RSA says so. You're gonna have another pile of stuff that's not in the RSA, but you think you might wanna keep it. And then you have a third pile that are duplicates, and that's all trash.
And there's other stuff too. You know what's in there. We got newspaper clippings from 20 years ago when we had the ice storm. Right, we had an ice storm? We all got the newspaper clippings in there from the ice storm.
So that should go in the pile that says it's not RSA required, but you as a, that's maybe a bad example, but just as a single selectman, it shouldn't be your call to say we're gonna throw that away. It goes in a pile that needs to be reviewed.
That's right.
Okay. So that would be one of the 2 piles.
I agree. I agree.
Keep it,
There's stuff
review
like
it, trash it.
Okay,
Right.
then we'll do it. I'm ready.
And at the end, with the spreadsheet, you hopefully will be able to set up a more concise filing system that you'd file, that any future selectman and administrative assistant would follow, instead of, once again, a new person going in and saying, oh, this should go here, I think.
Yep.
You know,
A new way to
you
build
can,
those
you can
stuff.
follow what we do in the archives. You do large group, series, which is smaller group, and then the specific item. So like town properties, roads, if you're gonna keep things on roads, stuff like that. And some of that is set up that way, but I think you'll find as you go through, you'll find things here that belong down here in a different category.
We have a lot of stuff that I believe goes in with the property cards now. That's very clean. There's a lot of stuff that roads, we got folders on roads,
Right.
haven't been touched in 20 years.
That's a good point, Rich, because I agree. I think you're gonna find a ton of stuff in those drawers that belong in the property record files, that are already in the property record file. So you're sitting on a duplicate copy.
Maybe.
Right.
You're not gonna pull a duplicate out of that drawer, but it's archived or kept.
So we'll need to make sure that you have the general finding aid. It won't be the specific finding aid, but like we have roads and bridges. I haven't gotten a bridge report other than what I've downloaded off the internet from DOT since maybe 2018. I've been able to find them on the DOT website. I'm assuming you're gonna find state reports in there. Either that or they ended up someplace else. But those should be kept archivally, I think. Although you might say, well, why would we want a bridge report that's 20 years old? Let's just keep them for 10 years. They come out every 2
Well,
years.
the problem is, that report said the bridge was bad 20 years ago, and we still haven't done anything.
Yeah, but it's also available on DOT. They have the red line bridges from, with the date that they were red lined. Yeah. But we'll make sure you have the finding aids, so, like, you don't know probably that we have a series in general records that's all about the properties. Primarily this building and those two buildings together. And the stuff that you were referencing, that's where all that goes. Like we have the report that Salmon Falls Architectural did back in 2011, 2012. We have a couple surveys that were addressed to better electricity and better energy control of those two buildings. Those are all in the archives for historical purposes, so you can go back. Also for when somebody's interested in the history of a specific thing, they'll be able to find it.
But how do you know it exists?
It's in the finding aid, and it's the
Where's the finding aid?
sitting in there right now. You'll eventually get a copy, right?
It's it has
It's
been
been in process for
process.
several years.
Yeah.
It's a huge document.
Because we'll get documents mailed to us, bridge reports, every 5 years.
Yeah.
What do you do with them?
You guys will decide, because I don't think,
Well, we don't know what to do with them today. That's my point. We look at them, we read them, we give it to the road agent to look at,
yeah,
and then they disappear.
Are these bridge inspections?
Yeah.
Okay, so
We're supposed to
they're
save them.
permanently
Yeah.
in the
Yes.
archives?
Yes.
Well, like,
Yes.
yes,
I read that.
conservation has been getting the dam reports, but I don't know what Frank does with them. We just got one for Kingswood.
that's the only dam in town, I think.
And
No,
that
there's one.
would
Moose
No,
Mountain.
we're up
Moose
on
Mountain.
Moose Mountain.
Oh, right, yeah, the lake. Yeah.
So again, that's permanent and it goes to archives.
Yeah, I don't know what he's been doing with them after.
But that was my point. We're getting documents in,
Probably his
and the
house.
public, we don't know what to do with them. Right? That was the bridge report, but now you've got another example of a dam report.
Right.
Don't know what to do with it? I'll take it home, put it in my drawer.
I bet that's probably, he took him home.
I hope.
And that's what's unfortunate. Yeah, we'll get to conservation, but, or did conservation, you all didn't touch conservation.
We went through the drawer, we didn't really, we just got rid of duplicates when it came to the Conservation Commission. That's pretty much all we did, got rid of duplicates.
It's one of the reasons why Karen got the MRC going again, to address exactly those questions. Because for years, nobody did.
That's right. We just did it
Or
right
they
now.
did it, they did it the way they felt they should do.
Yeah.
And I guess that's one of the things that we wouldn't have been aware of, so dam reports go to conservation rather than to the selectmen.
Yeah.
So that's sort of a little gap there that we wouldn't have been aware
Yeah, we got one last year for the Moose Mountain Dam, the Mountain Lake Dam.
And you
Or
don't
the
even see
lower
them?
pond.
Pardon? The selectmen don't see them?
No, we didn't see that.
of. Are
That's
they addressed
weird.
in the conservation committee meetings?
Yes,
Okay.
They come from DES?
yes,
That's why.
yeah.
And the town clerk doesn't get one.
I don't get any dam reports now.
Yeah, I'd have to go through the minutes to tell you when the Jones Brook one, or the one on Mountain Lake, whatever it is, when we discussed and got that one, but we got one last month for sure.
Interesting. Thanks for bringing it forward.
You're welcome.
If somebody needs to ask Frank what he does with those.
Yes.
Here are they?
Now you gotta tell Frank what to do with them. We put them, and that's gotta be the process. What do we do with them when we get them?
He's doing
His process is going, here you go.
Yeah.
And then you have to figure out what to do with it. If you're on the conservation committee, what do you do with it?
This is why it's so important that we wrap our hands around this. There's a lot of moving pieces in a lot of different departments, so.
And a lot of individuals.
Exactly.
The turnover is very high, we all understand that.
Which is
If you don't-
Craig's key point, we
Yeah,
need
yeah,
a
exactly.
checklist.
If you don't have a consistent way of doing it, it's gonna get done. Whatever that individual feels is the best way to do it. Right, Bob?
Okay. How early would you like to, do you want to try to meet at Tuesday at 8 before the 9 o'clock meeting? So we hold it to an hour?
Tuesday.
Tuesday is the,
I feel like that'd be a
is
little
that too
much.
much? Okay.
Oh, you mean,
The right to know, is that the right to know meeting?
Yeah. So that's only going till 2:30. Oh yeah, maybe you'd have,
I have office hours.
right.
You talk Tuesday, May 6th.
The right to know.
Do we should schedule during Leah's office hours?
I don't think so.
Or
Why, does
before or
does Leah
after?
have to be there?
Yeah.
I can't learn what to keep if I'm
That's
not
what
aware of
You
it.
shouldn't have to learn, it should be self-explanatory when we're done. These documents are kept.
There's still some learning involved though.
Right, I could do it anytime. Pick a time.
I think Leah should be a part of
I
that.
do too.
Because she's gonna be the standard bearer for it.
The documents that are produced should have enough information that you can do it and I can do it and anybody can do it.
Okay.
It shouldn't be tied to an individual's
first
I
knowledge.
agree. But right now, there's no process at all. What
It'll
are you
have to
gonna
be
do
after
to
school,
establish the process?
That's fine, we
Yeah.
can do it.
Okay.
So in order to include the archivist,
Okay.
it would need to be after 4.
After 4.
Or early, we can do early.
What about Monday?
I am not available Monday. I have meetings Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday after school, so no.
And I'd like to be there if it's okay, and I can't do Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
Thursday?
I could do Thursday at 4. Does that work?
That works for me.
You can do Thursday at 4.
That is the 8th.
Yeah,
Yes.
Thursday the 8th.
Okay. Rose is shaking her head.
What's wrong?
You have 2 doctor's appointments on Thursday, the 8th.
But they're well,
Are they before or after 4?
very early.
They're in the morning.
So would a pencil 4 to what, 6, 4 to 7?
Your brain will be fried, I
Yeah.
promise you.
We're
So
gonna do more than 2
I would hold
hours.
it to an
2
hour,
hours?
hour and a half.
Hour and a half, like, come on. All right, 4 o'clock on the 8th.
My suggestion is that we take turns doing two sessions at a time. So in other words, you do the first 2, Austin take the next 2, and then I'll do the next 2, and then you repeat again. Or until we get enough so that we need to meet as a board and decide.
I agree with that.
Okay, that's fine. Let's talk about assessing. We thought we did it. I'd like to have a review, right? Because obviously we don't think we've done it. Some people think we've done it. So let's schedule assessing again. Ron would be in the second Friday, right?
Which is the next day.
Hmm?
That would be the next day after this meeting.
Okay.
It's the 9th.
He's in 8:30 in the morning.
I can do 8:30. Did he have a conflict? Does he have people come in or
No.
anything?
That's
We'll
the thing.
we'll get an appointment. We'll make it on.
Okay, I know that was a little difficult the
I mean,
last
he only
time.
works 2 hours, so it's like, you know, if you're,
He'll stay 4 if we want.
he
He'll stay.
he will never put in for any extra hours.
He doesn't?
No, he won't.
Sometimes he
Are we
schedules
talking
other
about the
towns.
assessor or the assessor clerk?
We both. We're talking about the assessor, Rod Wood.
Oh, I was talking about,
No, we're talking about Rod Wood to be there.
I was talking about Bob.
Can he do it during like his regular business hours? Okay. So 8:30 on the 9th and be assessing.
Let's have a review of that, because we thought we did it. Well, let's review it. It's been 4 or 5 months. There was a bunch of stuff we were supposed to do at year end.
Are you okay not attending that one?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be on the 9th.
And what selectmen will be involved then? That will be just you?
Fine, or have anybody else come if they want. Go over the list.
If I look like a deer in the headlight, because I'm totally confused. What are we doing and why?
We did the assessing department once.
That's from a records committee?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what I wasn't sure.
But now there's some confusion. Karen says, I don't know anything about that because I don't think you was at the meeting.
Right, I know you met.
Yes.
But I wasn't involved with it, so I don't know if there's confusion.
See, so I thought we wrapped it up and we weren't following the process. So we're gonna review that and see what happened.
Okay. Who participated last time? It was Rod and Craig and you?
And Bob,
Was it Bob too?
was, and then we,
Okay.
I know year end, there's stuff they're supposed to do,
Okay, so what is their year end?
end of the year. Well, they
It's
got
the
multiple year end, they
calendar.
got
Well,
multiple
that's how
year
the
end.
town clerk is too,
Don't
so,
be tricky.
okay.
They got
So
multiple year ends.
are you specifically talking about according to the RSA or other items?
Other items as well as the RSA.
Okay.
They keep stuff because they like to keep it. That was the deeds. How many deeds are we gonna keep?
I thought it was just the
That's-
last full one.
That's right.
Been clear, it's on the.
Yep.
I gave them a brand new layout of the property files.
They're doing that. I know they're keeping the right number of
Okay.
deeds.
Right.
There's other stuff.
The
Property,
equalization stuff.
property cards. Year end, that changes. Property cards change, tax maps change. All take place at year end.
The tax maps that are in there start with 2019, and those have to be retained until we reach the end of the current 5-year period.
I think tax maps are saved forever.
Oh, you're talking about tax maps. I thought you were talking about tax cards.
No.
Okay, tax maps. I don't know what the big problem is. We said to your assessor clerk, who works for you, give us the 11 by 17s.
Did you get them?
Hmm?
Did you get them?
No,
You-
it's not my job to go, or your job to
No,
go.
I'm
tracking them down.
saying, did you get them?
No, no.
So perhaps we just need to come together and reiterate, re-educate. and
Yeah, see,
move
we
forward.
gotta tell them what to do with them.
It needs to be in writing.
Yeah.
And
Where has-
that's my fault, because I didn't take I took notes as we met, and, because the big thing for me was the equalization records and all the old property cards, including the orange cards, which were for current use years and years ago. Rod very clearly said, you can toss all of it. equalization, he goes online and gets it. But I did not put that in writing. That's the problem.
When I looked at the list,
Report it to the
that you gave me the entire list, you mailed the entire list to me?
Yes.
And when I scanned that list for assessing, there was stuff on there that was a news item to me that I'm not sure we were saving or dealing with correctly.
Do you remember what those were?
I'm sure it was tax maps, that surprised me. You're supposed to save it forever.
I remember discussing that with them because the whole question was, how far back does he have the tax maps digitally from whatever the name of the company is, Cartographics?
Yes.
And whether or not it was okay. And I don't know if we actually made a decision that, yes, we'll retain them digitally on the server and we won't bother with the paper copies.
I think the RSA says you save them forever, so we can save them on.
But you can save them digitally. Yeah.
And that's one thing we have to determine too, when we, as part of this
How the
process.
town wants to, how we
keep
want to
them.
do it. Obviously, having a paper copy, if you ever want to reference what a piece of property looked like before it was subdivided, you want to be able to do it on the paper copy and not on a screen.
But see,
But that's your decision
But
because
see-
assessing is under the selectmen.
so you have these archives,
Mhm.
digital.
On the server.
How do you get to them?
That's had to be the PDFA.
Good man. How do you get to them?
Well, the selectmen, I would imagine, you've talked about this, having your IT person set up that you can access any one of the different departments. Maybe read only, but if you wanted to see the state of our finding aid, you could go out into the archives, nobody else can, and access whatever you want digitally. The records for the trustees of the trust fund are all digital now, except we're printing out the minutes.
So, I understand. Does Austin understand that? He doesn't have a clue.
Have you ever, how much feeling have you done with that?
So that's my point. You get new people,
Yeah.
and somehow we have to be able to transfer that process to the new people.
Oh, he's by fire. He's getting it tonight.
I mean,
When the finding aid is done, it'll probably be paper only. There's a lot of questions that the two of us have about how the selectmen want to handle it, who's going to have access to it, public, whatever. And a new selectman gets elected, that's one of the first things he'd look at, to see what the resources are, so he doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. And if he has a question about something, he might be able to find it in the archives.
and that's what we should look at also, because I have no idea what's in there. I
Right.
mean, every time I come in, you surprise me with something else that you know we had this. No,
Right.
but, so we don't know what's in there.
Unfortunately, we can't give you the, or maybe we can. I don't know. I'll leave it up to the new archivist.
Give them what?
In bits and pieces, the finding aid,
Right,
you know?
because it is fascinating, like, who knew?
That's
But
right.
the finding aid's going to make it, so if you are like, class 6 roads, we got stuff on class 6 roads, like the history of class 6 roads in
Right.
Brookfield, New Hampshire, decisions, discussions,
For
like
the
just
most part,
things like that.
it's defined at the file level. So you can see everything that we have about roads, everything that we have about bridges.
And I have to say, having worked on that right to know request, it's an amazing document. I mean, it is so well organized, and they've done an amazing job. And you can go to, you can find things very easily after you kind of get used to how it's organized, but it's
Only
just
if
a
we know it,
matter.
only if we know it exists.
Well, we
Right.
wanted to keep all of you in the dark. I know,
Yes.
purposefully,
Yes.
so that you'll appear like you don't know anything. And myself and Kristen are on top of it all. So when you come in, I can say,
They
oh,
can find it for you.
Well, and I will say, starting in when I started in 2017,
yeah.
was me sitting with stacks of papers going duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. This is the May, this is June, this is July, duplicate. Like, I mean, I was recycling stacks of duplicates.
She took the school board, when we had our own school board up until 1965, 66, she took like this much material and got it down to a document box.
Wow.
It requires hours of time because you have to scan everything visually to see, is this something that's important to keep? Because that's a historical part of this town. We actually have school records back to the 1820s, I think it is.
Wow.
First grade?
I beg your pardon? No, second grade.
And I think there's even binders back here in the storage room of copies and duplicates.
Oh, God.
Binders, that we need to make sure that there is a copy in archives and then destroy all these binders of extra copies. So it's a huge task, but just needs attention.
Madam Chair, maybe I missed something. It seems like, first of all, do all department heads and elected officials who have an office, are they fully aware of all the documents that they actually have?
No.
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 Oh, okay. So that would tell me that the first step has to be each of those individual departments and elected official boards need to take an inventory first before doing anything. And then the board meets, your board meets, and then decides which one's kept, which one's not. But if you don't have an inventory, what are you talking about process now for? I would say that would go first.
But typically that's done with a survey
Right.
by a member of the MRC who's very comfortable with doing this with any department, and you sit with them and you say, okay, tell me what you produce. Tell me what you receive. You know, in the case of you for the Conservation Commission, or you and Frank, you'd say, oh, we got a dam report every couple of years. How long do you need to keep it? Does it need to be kept for anybody else? Does anybody else get it? It's a duplicate.
That doesn't sound like you're saying that you're taking an inventory. That sounds like you're talking process again. What do you get and what are you thinking you have to keep? It sounds like you still have to just go like a librarian, go in there and say, this is everything we have.
What do you produce? It's supposed to help the department head think about what they have in their file cabinet, what they know of, and that's it.
Oh, I would, if you told me to do it, I think you would have to open up all the filing cabinets and start making records of every piece of paper you have, every file. And then let the MRC figure out, are you keeping it or not?
You do it by department.
Right. But I'm saying that department should do that for this board. Individual department, they're responsible for it, they should
The problem
do
is,
that
the
inventory.
problem is, every department, there isn't a single department in this town that knows what they have to do. Nobody knows.
But they know that they have a filing cabinet,
Yeah,
so they know they have documents,
yeah,
but they need to know what they have.
right.
See, a few years ago, I asked DocStar to come here. Do you remember that?
I remember
Rich?
that.
DocStar, they do document handling. And basically, once you have everything organized, they'll come in and they'll digitize everything you have. And they'll put it in the proper PDF. And they can lock it, unlock it, things when they're released. It's accessible immediately by the public. And I'm not saying you're going to go to that nth degree now, because it does cost money. But you still have to inventory first.
We're talking about the same thing. We're just talking about an MRC committee member doing it with the person, with the department head. It's exactly the same thing.
Okay.
I mean, the survey results in an inventory.
Okay, so the survey is the inventory.
Yeah,
Okay, well, it didn't sound like that when I heard you say.
maybe I didn't
Because
explain it
I'll
well
guarantee
enough.
you, Karen is gonna know more about what each department has to keep than the department head does.
Correct.
Primarily because she's so familiar with 33A at this point.
Because the planning board was gonna do this too, because we couldn't find documents. That's a whole other department that needs things looked through, and I still don't think the planning board is completely aware of all the documents they actually have.
I wouldn't doubt that.
So, okay.
That's a problem with most of the committees. And the issue there is people being oriented to the responsibilities as a chairman, or as an administrative assistant, or as a member of a committee. You know, they take an oath, we all take an oath. We're sworn to uphold the RSAs of the state and the Constitution of the US, but whether or not people realize what goes into it, I mean, it opens up a much bigger issue, which we're not the only town, you know, but that's why you have rules of procedure for the land use committees. But people have to be familiar with them.
And that's a lot of this process. A lot of this is education and communicating between departments, but educating each department.
So where do you stand as the town clerk with this?
I think you're my person that's gonna,
Yes,
I'm still cleaning up. But I do have some things that Craig and I even talked about to
I'm
clarify. No, to clarify that I do need to get them to archives that I wasn't aware of.
But you didn't bring them to the committee to talk about.
They're in the RSA, I don't need to bring them to the committee, it's already straight out.
Nothing else in there that you want to say.
Oh, there's a lot of things that I still
That's
need
what
to
Rose is gonna
clarify.
do with
Yeah.
her when they meet.
And there are a lot of things that are not on the RSA that are regulated by vital records, the DMV, but they may not be specific on the RSA. And they have their own timetables by those agencies. So it's very, the town
And
clerk has a lot of work to
The
do.
reason I asked, I was trying to find the department that's in the front that's finding all the minefields. I tried to do this and it didn't work right.
What was this?
I'm trying to find the department that is trying to work through this process that's in the forefront to identify any issues they're having when they try to work through the process. Because we have assessing going, we have the ZBA going, we have town clerk going, we have treasurer going, we're going to the selectmen going. Has anyone brought it to completion?
No, not yet. We've been working on the documents and all. I know, I feel like we haven't gotten there yet. We kind of go on offshoots of things that are identified along the way. But potentially the idea was that tax collector, treasurer, and town clerk will sort of be piloting in our offices as we go through documents, and we sort of assigned a member to each of those people. Of course, other things have distracted us, but yes, that's the general idea. It sounds like Rose has made some progress with hers, and we do have our disposition sheet. We're going to come up with cards to identify what's in boxes. It's just putting that in storage of the things that need to be disposed of. We have to work through that process too. So, yes. Town clerk is working on it on her own, but we haven't met yet.
Just thought I'd ask.
No, you're welcome to ask.
Where are we on the agenda here?
I think we've skipped around the agenda. We've covered all of these items. The MS forms, we can talk about that when we're meeting with the selectmen to begin to look at that a little more closely if you'd like to do that. It's not something we can necessarily address tonight,
That's right, we have to do some research.
right?
Who keeps them?
Exactly. The hard drive versus the server, we can talk about that more when we're in there. and we did talk about I think we can come to a decision on the retention of the copies of minutes maintained in the office public binders. If you all are agreeable to do that tonight, because they really come under the selectmen, you're here, the municipal records committee is here. I think we could make a determination about these binders and then who's responsible for each binder.
For all minutes, all departments are just selectmen.
No, all.
All middle small departments have to be archived. Is that correct, or is it?
All minutes have to be
Right.
archived.
Okay.
We're just
So
talking
what
about
we're
the
talking
binders.
about, and I think Craig had said 2 years, I think is a fine timeframe. The binders, the bookcase will have 2 years' worth of records. When you get to the 105th week, then that goes on top and one on the bottom goes out.
Who documents that?
Whoever's taking the meeting minutes.
No, that's what I said. You just defined a process. Who's gonna define that process and put it over there? This is how we handle meeting minutes.
No,
And
some,
train
yeah, we gotta
everybody.
write it up,
That's what I'm
those,
asking, who's doing that?
nobody,
Right.
right now, nobody.
Right.
We need to have that test case, right? We need to have one department lined up that does everything right, and then we can copy it to everybody.
And communicate it to the other.
Well, I thought Karen just said, how are we gonna treat meeting minutes over there? All meeting minutes.
Well, we do already have a minutes procedure policy form, so why don't I just add at the bottom? No more than 2 years plus the current year, as far as keeping it goes.
That's
Just
fine.
add it on to whatever we have already.
That's fine. That's documenting it, that's good.
Yep.
That's fine.
Okay.
And then we have to make sure we have a copy in the vault.
Yes.
They have to make the
That
photo
is
throw
on
them
there.
away.
That's already,
I
that's
think
the
first
first
copy
part
goes
of
to the
that.
vault.
Yes.
the original goes to the
Yeah.
archives, original.
Yes.
Yes, the original goes to the archives. There should be a copy on the website. We just need to make sure that they're in all the right places.
And we sign our meeting minutes now.
And the signed one should be on the website, I believe.
More than the secretary, the board signs them, right?
The recorder and the chair.
Yeah, the
It's
recorder
sufficient.
should,
It's
you
sufficient.
sign too, Leah.
I initial them anyway.
I think she should
It's
sign,
on the template.
yes, the recorder.
Yeah, you need 2 signatures.
Or
Okay, so 2 years plus the current year.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Lee, you gonna modify that?
Mhm.
Perfect.
Okay, so is there a motion to maintain 2 years plus the current year of the copies of minutes in the public binders?
Yeah, that's what we just saw.
Okay,
Yes.
That's what we were just talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
that's a second?
Yes.
Everybody in agreement?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Was it Gauthier and Zacher? First and second? Did you motion and Zacher seconded? Is that what happened here? Who motioned and who seconded it?
I think I made the motion and
Okay, yeah, I
Rich seconded
didn't-
it.
Yeah.
I wasn't clear.
I didn't realize you were making a motion. I thought you were asking a question.
Just so the minutes.
I was clarifying a question
Okay.
as a motion.
Can I have just one thing on the minutes? Craig, in the past, I think the supervisors have asked you whether you want copies of their minutes, and I think the answer was no. Does that make sense to you? Because I don't believe that the supervisors ever give you minutes.
They don't, that's what I know. I don't,
There's a binder there for them.
is there a binder?
There's a
Yeah,
required
we
document that can,
We
the
don't
state.
even have a group for supervisors of the checklist
Okay,
in the archives.
okay.
Should we?
Well, I mean, we're required to do minutes. The state requires us to do minutes. So I would think yes.
So like when you run an ad in the paper that you're gonna be updating records, people can come in between 6:30 and 7. Is that considered a meeting and you
Yes.
have minutes from that? I
Yes,
didn't know that.
yes.
Okay. So I guess send us all the minutes you have and we'll create a
I
group
think
for
we
it.
can clean out half of a drawer in there.
Okay, good.
I do believe your originals are here, correct?
We've probably pulled stuff out of that because the binder got too full, and I think it's in there now.
Oh, okay, so you'll want to be sure to make copies, if you're going to keep copies in the public binder, and give the originals to archives. Right? Okay.
Has there always been a binder there?
Yep.
Son of a gun. Who knew?
Okay, so I have an action item.
So you need a motion, a second, and a discussion.
Did you say?
I think we voted on it.
Yeah, we voted.
You voted, I didn't hear you vote.
Didn't we vote on it?
Yeah.
Not
Oh, we did.
specific
I
to
thought everybody said
supervisors.
Not the supervisors, no.
No.
What are you talking about, the supervisors or the meeting minutes?
Your
I think we
motion.
need to change.
The meeting minutes?
Yeah, the
Check the
motion.
tape.
Did I miss it?
You missed
I
it,
think we
yeah.
voted.
Thank you.
I don't think so.
We
I
don't.
think we
We'll
voted
We'll
on
vote again.
this.
You want to do it again?
Notebooks.
Oh, right,
But we
okay.
didn't talk specifically, I think there was a specific question about supervisors. Now that would come under when we talk to the supervisors about their RSA items.
Right, but
Yeah,
I just
so-
wanted to understand this issue about the minutes for the supervisors and whether,
So Ed's question, did we vote on that motion?
I just heard a
Yeah.
motion, I heard a second.
We're
Then
checking-
I heard
we're-
Rose discuss, and I just
We're
didn't
checking the
hear.
meeting minutes now, the notes.
We did vote on the meeting minutes in general, the motion that we will maintain them for
years.
2 years, the public notebooks for 2 years,
Okay.
plus the current year,
Gotcha.
and also post to the website.
And that was voted on?
Yes.
We voted on
Yes,
it.
There you go.
Very good.
And I apologize, I did not open the floor for discussion, and you may have brought that up at that point before we voted, so.
I mean, it was more clarification after the vote anyway.
Okay, does anyone have any other business at this point in time? Any questions, archivists?
I would suggest that when we get mail, we don't know what to do with the mail. I don't know what to say, but for example, the dam report. No one saw it, but the Conservation Committee. When another report comes in, and it ends up in one of the mailboxes, and we don't know what to do with it, maybe all that unknown mail should come here. Or what do you do with the mail that comes in that we don't know what to do with?
Throw it away.
I thought we were voting.
That's an option. That's an option.
It sounds like the issue with that was that it was addressed to the Conservation Commission, so that may be, that's the way it sounds.
Well, we had a lost check at one point in time that got transferred around in a bunch of different departments. It was actually a payment on a tax bill, but it got to the tax collector a long time later.
Well, I think it said conservation on it. I
What-
think that was what happened,
Okay.
yeah, but so all mail should get opened to see where it should go? Or,
Good
I
question.
think that's,
Excellent
and that's
question.
to
Excellent
the
question.
selectmen, that's a selectman question, I would think.
Excellent question.
If it's not addressed to an individual department, then it should be the selectmen that open it up.
I think that was what was discussed before, that there's
But now we-
uncertainty, it goes to the selectmen's box.
Right.
But now we have examples of other type of activity.
And the difficulty with that, again, is it was specifically
Yes.
addressed, I believe, to conservation.
I'm not sure if it was or not. I didn't see the envelope.
Does
I
it
didn't
come
even see
here?
the report. Frank just told us what was in it and then,
Does it come here?
yes, it did come
It did
here.
come here.
It was in his box,
Hmm.
well, in the conservation box. So I don't know if it was addressed to the town but had DES on it, so somebody put it in there, or if it was actually sent to conservation. I'm not sure of that. That's a Frank question.
That sounds like that may be something outside of this committee, so it may be something the selectmen would want to decide, is my thought. I think we had discussed it once before, and any unknown mail that wasn't specific was going to the selectmen's box.
Well, we're still in session, so we can make that decision right now as far as I'm concerned. If it's not identified specifically who it should go to, and it's just a general town of Brookfield, then it should be the selectmen that
Sure.
open it and decide. I mean, does that require a motion and a vote, or is that just nod our heads and agree that's what we're gonna do?
That's what we're going to do.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
that's the way it should be. All right. Do you have anything else?
Any other items? Okay.
I'll go back into the selectmen's we tried a long time ago to do something very profound for the town, for an individual who served many years, and that's Craig. But you never show up, Craig, so we can't do it. And unfortunately, we got you a very nice pewter plate, Craig. We appreciate you, over 30 years of service across the spectrum of departments in this town. You've done a lot for us. We had the plate made up, we're waiting for the right time, the right opportunity, which is now, but the plate is in my other car. So I can't actually hand it to you tonight, but I want you to know that we appreciate the work that you've put in for this town. And
Everyone's sentiment.
one more thing. And I wanted to make sure it was on video too. We're gonna archive
For
that.
perpetuity.
Karen had asked that we selectmen try to pick a date so that we can have a post-election critique. You know, what went well, what didn't go well, how can we fix things that we need to fix. So I'm open to almost any time. We've got to, I think, pick a date, and then we can, you want to take the lead to get a hold of the others, or?
No, maybe there was a misunderstanding. I think the elected officials wanted to meet with the selectmen like they did last year after the election.
Right.
Right, Joanne?
Yes.
Yes, I was just the messenger. But I think
But you're an
it's,
election official.
I mean, I think it was just like a work session with the elected officials, just to regroup. We had a
It's
new
not
selectmen.
election,
It's not election.
it's
post-
elected.
Yeah, elected officials,
Elected.
post-election. But just we have some new people on board, and just to regroup, touch base like we did after the last election.
You
Communication.
know, when I took the notes the first time, I put post-election
It
meeting,
is.
and then I thought I had it wrong.
That's okay, you're good at it, you're good. So that was, I think there were some
So-
open business items.
I think it's just good to, talk about what's going on and what we do, and,
Yeah, so we want to have a meeting with all the currently elected officials.
Define that.
I think it's the.
Because all the elected officials, you've got a bunch of
office.
elected officials out there, planning board,
no,
supervisor.
well, we just wanted a small group.
We're talking about the office.
Department
Yeah,
heads?
it's department,
Previously,
Or
it
department,
was
elected
tax collector,
department.
treasurer, town
Yeah.
clerk, and selectmen.
Yeah.
If you want to open it up to other people,
Yeah.
that's fine.
yeah.
All right, what's a good date?
Oh, gosh.
Has to be 6 o'clock, 5:30 is the earliest.
What time are you taking here?
Anytime after 4.
After 4.
Time after 4? Let's see.
Will
I just
someone,
have to request, like, if it's a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday after 5.
someone going to give us an agenda?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll come up with an agenda. We'll come up with an agenda.
All right, is that what he's? I think my hearing aid is
Austin, you're the only one who has 2 ears that work.
Barely.
Yeah.
I think you gotta sit in between the two.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
It's-
are there any days that don't work for you
No?
in general?
I don't think so. My trip got canceled, so I'm going.
So how about Wednesday, the 14th? How does that look?
So I won't be here the 13th, 14th, and 15th.
Okay.
I'll be at the risk management thing.
That'll be fine.
Yeah, we can do it.
14 doesn't work.
It doesn't work? Okay.
What day of the week is the 13th?
It's a Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I said the 14th, week discussion was the 14th?
Yeah.
The 14th doesn't work.
No, that's right, Leah's out for that, and the 15th is out also.
And the 13th.
That's okay, we can meet,
19th?
we can meet.
When?
We can't meet on the 14th, Karen.
I don't know if it has to be there.
Okay.
I mean, it might be hard to get everybody together. I don't know, it's up to you guys.
The 19th is Joint Loss Management Commission now.
I'm sorry.
Joint Loss Management is on the 19th,
And what time is that, Leah?
6 o'clock.
Okay.
All right, 20 is the selectmen's, Wednesday, the 21st.
That's the next Board of Selectmen meeting. Oh, wait, no,
Wednesday,
Wednesday,
Heritage
sorry,
Days.
Heritage Commission.
That I did hear.
Wrong day, Heritage.
What day
Heritage
are we
is that
talking
day.
about?
Wednesday, the 21st,
Oh, okay.
6 o'clock.
That's when Heritage Commission meets?
And is that
That's
still
me.
Austin's committee?
Oh, Heritage Commission meets on that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Thursday, the 22nd.
There's nothing that day.
What about after joint loss? Because you'll all be there, right?
There's not usually many people at that.
Oh.
That's up to you guys. If you want to do it after or not.
Let's go to Thursday, the 22nd.
Is there something wrong with Wednesday the 7th? Do we have to push so far?
Conservation
That's
Commission.
Conservation Commission.
Who's the conservation? Austin.
Conservation.
Yeah, conservation.
Do you want to meet before the conservation? Do you want to meet at 5 and then your meeting's at 6?
No. I'll go with-
Okay, pick your date, I'm sorry, I just was trying to pull it up.
What did we say, the 22nd, everybody was available?
Yeah.
22nd at what time, 5?
5 o'clock?
That's fine with me.
Yep, we'll do 5. And what are we calling this, elected officials?
Staff meeting.
And we're doing it at 5 PM. Is that, does it have to be posted?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think last time it was called a work session.
work section,
It's quorum.
yeah, quorum, that's right.
Can you make it?
Come on.
Sorry. All right, the 22nd at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
5 o'clock, got it.
Okay. That's the only thing.
All right, I don't have anything else from a selectman standpoint. You guys got anything?
Good.
How about on
No,
the
I think
representative?
we're finished.
stuff?
Yeah, I think we've concluded.
Okay, I will call the meeting adjourned.
7:47.
Okay.
Wait till he turns it off.
No, I'm freaking out,
talk.
everybody leaves their phone.